The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched high above Park Jun-ho's head. Golden light flowed from crystal formations on the walls. The ceiling showed a moving picture of stars and planets from across the galaxy. It was meant to make visitors feel small and impressed. It worked on most species. But Park Jun-ho had seen this room many times before. Today, it just looked expensive. Park Jun-ho stood at attention in his dark blue uniform. The fabric was simple cotton and synthetic materials. His boots were leather and rubber. His rank badges were metal pins, not glowing holograms like the other officers wore. Everything about him looked plain compared to the beings around him. 12 different alien species sat at the curved council table. Each one looked down at the human commander with barely hidden disgust. Park Jun-ho had grown used to those looks. Over the past 5 years of serving as Earth's military representative, Admiral Vex spoke first. Her body was made of living crystal that changed colors as she talked. Right now she glowed red with irritation. "Commander Park, we have called this emergency session to discuss the Void Swarm threat. Intelligence reports show they have consumed 3 more star systems in the past month." Park Jun-ho nodded. He had read those same reports. The Void Swarm was unlike any enemy the galaxy had faced before. They appeared as dark energy clouds filled with strange biomechanical creatures. Every world they touched went silent. Every ship that fought them was never seen again. "The threat is real," Park Jun-ho said in simple, clear words. "Earth stands ready to help however we can." General Mordag clicked his mandibles together. He looked like a giant ant wearing armor made of gleaming metal and energy fields. His voice buzzed when he spoke. "Help? What help could humans possibly provide?" The other council members made sounds of agreement. Some laughed. War Chief Silthan's scaled head bobbed up and down. His species had conquered 12 worlds before joining the council. "Your people still use gunpowder weapons. We have plasma cannons that can melt mountains. Your soldiers wear metal plates for protection," added Admiral Vex. "Our shields can stop anything short of a nuclear blast." Commander Zul of the Hive Dynasty leaned forward. His insect-like eyes reflected the room's golden light. "Your warships still use chemical rockets for thrust. Our vessels bend space itself to travel faster than light." Park Jun-ho listened to each comment without changing his expression. He had heard variations of these words many times before. The alien species all believed technology was everything. The more advanced their computers, the better their weapons, the stronger they were. They could not understand why humans still used older methods. "Tell us, Commander," War Chief Silthan continued, "do your warriors still fight with sharp metal sticks?" "We call them knives," Park Jun-ho replied. "And yes, every human soldier learns to use them." This brought fresh laughter from the council. Admiral Vex's crystal body flashed bright orange with amusement. "Knives against energy weapons and powered armor. Your people also still dig holes in the ground to hide from enemy fire," General Mordag buzzed. "We have learned to fight in 3 dimensions using anti-gravity technology." Park Jun-ho remained calm. "Trenches and foxholes have protected soldiers for thousands of years. They still work today." "Primitive thinking from a primitive species," muttered Commander Zul. His compound eyes never blinked as he studied the human. "This is exactly why Earth should not be involved in military planning." The council chamber fell quiet for a moment. Park Jun-ho could feel the weight of their judgment. These beings commanded fleets that could destroy planets. Their technology was centuries ahead of Earth's best efforts. Their soldiers were enhanced with cybernetic implants and genetic modifications. They fought wars using artificial intelligence that could process millions of battle scenarios in seconds. But Park Jun-ho was not impressed by their technology. He had studied the military history of every species in this room. Yes, they had powerful weapons. Yes, they had conquered many worlds. But they had also grown soft. They relied on their computers to think for them. They trusted their shields to protect them. They let artificial intelligence make their tactical decisions. "The Void Swarm has destroyed the Keltar defense fleet," Admiral Vex announced. 50 ships with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy, gone in less than 6 hours. They have also eliminated the automated defense platforms around Helios Prime, General Mordag added. weapons systems that were supposed to be unhackable. War Chief, Silthan's voice dropped lower. Intelligence suggests the Void Swarm can somehow corrupt our technology. Ships turn against their own crews. Defense systems attack friendly forces. Artificial intelligence units go insane and destroy themselves. Park Junho processed this information carefully. An enemy that could turn advanced technology into a weakness. That was interesting. And perhaps it explained why these proud alien commanders looked worried for the first time since he had known them. The Kala system will be their next target, Commander Zul announced. We estimate they will arrive within 1 week. All available fleets are being sent to defend Kala. Admiral Vex continued. The Prism Collective is sending 200 crystal ships. The Hive Dynasty will deploy 500 drone fighters. The Scaled Empire has committed their entire third fleet. Park Junho waited. He knew what was coming next. War Chief Silthan looked directly at him. Earth may send ships if they wish. However, we recommend you stay in the rear areas. Handle supply runs and medical evacuation. Leave the real fighting to those equipped for it. Your kinetic weapons might damage our own forces by accident, General Mordag added helpfully. Chemical explosives are so unpredictable. Park Junho straightened his shoulders. With respect, Earth would like to take part in the main battle. The laughter started again. Admiral Vex's crystal body flashed multiple colors as she struggled to control her amusement. Commander, this is not a ground war between primitive tribes. This is space combat against an unknown threat. You need advanced sensors, energy weapons, and artificial intelligence to coordinate attacks. Your people have none of these things. We have trained soldiers and good officers, Park Junho replied. Flesh and blood cannot compete with enhanced biology and cybernetic implants, Commander Zul stated firmly. Your reaction times are too slow. Your thinking is too limited. Your bodies are too fragile. Earth's military contributions will be noted in the official records, War Chief Silthan said with fake politeness. But please understand the gravity of this situation. The survival of galactic civilization is at stake. We cannot afford to accommodate primitive fighting methods. Park Junho nodded slowly. He had expected this response. I understand your position. Earth will provide what support we can. As the council members began discussing fleet movements and battle formations, Park Junho noticed Lieutenant Colonel Kim Naeun sitting in the observers section. She was Earth's chief tactical advisor and one of the smartest military minds he knew. She caught his eye and nodded slightly. Kim Naeun had been studying the reports about the Void Swarm for weeks. She had reached some interesting conclusions that the alien commanders might not like, but they would learn soon enough. Theo, meeting ended with formal assignments. The advanced alien fleets would handle the main combat. Earth's small fleet would stay far from the action and provide logistics support. Park Junho accepted these orders without complaint. As he walked out of the Great Hall, Kim Naeun fell into step beside him. The other alien officers ignored them, both already deep in discussions about energy weapon frequencies and shield harmonics. They still think we're just clever animals playing with their toys, Kim Naeun said quietly. Park Junho smiled for the first time that day. Let them think that. They're about to learn something very important about underestimating humans. Should we warn them about what we've discovered? Park Junho considered this question as they walked toward the transport bay. The alien species had dismissed Earth's military capabilities without even listening to their analysis of the Void Swarm threat. They believed their advanced technology made them superior to human judgment. No, he decided. They wouldn't believe, us anyway. Sometimes the best teacher is experience. Kim Naeun grinned. This should be educational. As their transport ship left the station, Park Junho looked back at the massive structures housing the Galactic Council. Soon, the most advanced military forces in the galaxy would face an enemy unlike anything they had encountered. Their energy weapons, artificial intelligence, and technological superiority would be put to the ultimate test. And when their advanced systems failed them, they would discover that sometimes the old ways were the best ways. Sometimes simple was better than complex. Sometimes human ingenuity could accomplish what alien technology could not. The Void Swarm was about to teach the galaxy a lesson about the value of keeping things simple. Park Jun-ho was looking forward to that education. Captain Lee Dong-yun stood on the bridge of the human frigate Soul's Pride. Around him, his crew worked at stations filled with switches, dials, and manual controls. No holographic displays, no artificial intelligence voices. Just humans doing their jobs the way humans had always done them. Through the main viewing window, Lee Dong-yun watched the most advanced military fleet in galactic history prepare for battle. Crystal ships from the Prism Collective glowed like jewels in space. Their surfaces were smooth and perfect. Energy flowed through them in beautiful patterns. The Hive dynasty had sent clouds of drone fighters. Each one was controlled by advanced, artificial intelligence. They moved together like schools of fish, perfectly coordinated by computer systems that could think faster than any biological brain. Massive warships from the Scaled Empire hung in formation nearby. Their hulls shimmered, with energy shields that could deflect any known weapon. Plasma cannons lined their sides like glowing teeth. "Sir, we're getting communication from Admiral Vex," reported Communications Officer Park Ji-woo. Her voice came through speakers built into the wall, not through neural implants like the alien crews used. "Put her on the main screen," Lee Dong-hyun ordered. The crystal being's image appeared on their simple video monitor. Her body flashed irritated colors as she spoke. "Captain Lee, please maintain your position at the rear of the formation. When the battle begins, stay out of our targeting zones. We don't want any accidents." "Understood, Admiral," Lee Dong-hyun replied politely. "We'll be ready to provide support as needed." Admiral Vex's form shifted to a dismissive blue color. "Just handle the wounded evacuation and supply runs. Leave the fighting to those equipped for it." The transmission ended. Sergeant Choi Minji looked up from her weapons console. "Sir, their attitude hasn't improved much." Lee Dong-hyun smiled. "Give them time. They're about to get an education." The Void Swarm arrived 3 hours ahead of schedule. It came not as ships, but as a living darkness that seemed to eat the light from the stars. Long tendrils of black energy reached out from a central mass that hurt to look at directly. Inside the darkness, shapes moved. Some looked like machines. Others seemed biological. All of them radiated wrongness. "Contact in 30 seconds, announced Lieutenant Kim Sun-ho from the sensor station. His instruments were simple radar and optical telescopes, not the quantum scanning arrays the aliens used. The Prism Collective fired first. Brilliant beams of plasma energy shot across space toward the approaching darkness. The beams should have cut through anything in the galaxy. Instead, they simply disappeared into the black mass. Worse, the darkness seemed to grow brighter after absorbing the energy. "What just happened?" Admiral Vex's voice came across the communication channels. Her crystal form flickered with confused colors. The Hive Dynasty's drone swarms moved to attack next. 500 artificial minds working as one, they approached the Void Swarm in perfect formation. Their energy weapons charged up, ready to unleash coordinated destruction. Then something went wrong. The drones started firing on each other. Their perfect formation collapsed as artificial intelligences that had worked flawlessly for decades suddenly turned violent and insane. Within minutes, the entire swarm had destroyed itself. "My drones are malfunctioning." General Mordag's voice buzzed with panic across the communication network. "All systems are failing." The Scaled Empire's warships tried to maintain distance, while firing their plasma cannons. But as soon as their weapons touched the darkness, strange things began happening. Energy shields flickered and died. Computer systems displayed error messages in languages that didn't exist. Ships began firing on their own allies as their targeting systems corrupted. "This is impossible." War Chief Silthan's voice cracked with fear. "Our technology is being turned against us." Lee Dong-hyun watched the chaos unfold around him. The most advanced military force in the galaxy was destroying itself. Ships that had conquered worlds were helpless against an enemy that seemed to corrupt their own strengths. "Sir, the alien fleet is in full retreat," reported Park Ji-woo. "Admiral, Vex is ordering all ships to fall back to minimum safe distance." "And the Void Swarm?" Lee Dong-hyun asked. Kim Sun-ho checked his simple radar screen. "Still advancing, sir. They're heading directly for the inner system planets. Lee Dong-hyun looked around his bridge. His crew stared back at him with determined faces. They had all heard the alien commander's panicked voices. They had seen the most advanced technology in the galaxy fail completely. But the Soul's Pride was still functioning perfectly. Every system worked exactly as designed. The engines ran on chemical fuel. The weapons used gunpowder and metal projectiles. The computers were simple machines that followed basic programming without any artificial intelligence. Choi Minji, what's the status of our weapon systems? Sergeant Choi Minji ran her hands over manual controls and analog displays. All systems. Green, sir. Railguns charged and ready. Missile tubes loaded with conventional warheads. Point defense guns operational. Kim Sun-ho, can you get us a firing solution using optical targeting? Lieutenant Kim Sun-ho looked through his telescopes and made calculations on paper. Yes, sir. Range is optimal for railgun engagement. Lee Dong-hyun took a deep breath. Around him, the galactic fleet was falling apart as their own technology betrayed them. But his simple human ship with its primitive weapons and manual controls remained unaffected. All stations, this is the captain. We are going to engage the enemy. Sir, Park Ji-woo said carefully. Admiral Vex ordered us to stay back. Admiral Vex's fleet just got destroyed by their own weapons, Lee Dong-hyun replied. I think we're on our own now. The Soul's Pride turned toward the Void Swarm. Its engines burned chemical fuel just like rockets had for centuries. Its weapons relied on physics and chemistry, not exotic energy fields. Its crew made decisions with human brains, not artificial intelligence. Beginning attack run, Lee Dong-hyun announced. Choi Minji, fire when ready. The railguns spoke with thunder that echoed through the ship's hull. Solid metal projectiles launched at tremendous speed toward the darkness. No energy to be absorbed. No computer systems to corrupt. Just simple kinetic force delivered exactly where human eyes and human calculations said it should go. The projectiles struck something solid within the Void Swarm. For the first time since the battle began, parts of the enemy mass flickered and pulled back. Direct hit, Choi Minji reported with satisfaction. Target is showing damage. Across the communication channels, alien voices erupted in amazement and disbelief. How is this possible? Admiral Vex demanded. Your primitive weapons shouldn't affect them. Maybe that's exactly why they do affect them, Lee Dong-hyun replied calmly. The Void Swarm turned its attention toward the small human ship. Dark tendrils reached out, trying to find computer systems to corrupt or energy weapons to redirect. They found only simple machines operated by human hands. Launching missiles, Choi Minji announced. Chemical rockets carried explosive warheads toward the enemy. No guidance computers to hack, no energy signatures to absorb. Just metal tubes full of gunpowder and shrapnel, guided by mechanical systems that had worked for hundreds of years. The explosions lit up space as the warheads found their targets. More sections of the Void Swarm pulled back, showing signs of actual damage. Impossible, General Mordag buzzed. Kinetic weapons are obsolete. They can't be more effective than our plasma cannons. Maybe obsolete is exactly what we need right now, Lee Dong-hyun suggested. The human ship continued its attack run. Railguns and missiles pounded the Void Swarm while the enemy's corruption abilities found nothing to corrupt. The Soul's Pride. Fought like ships had fought for centuries, with simple weapons operated by human skill and determination. Other human vessels began joining the attack. The destroyer Busan's Hammer added its firepower. The cruiser Incheon's Glory launched flights of missiles. Each ship fought with technology the aliens had dismissed as primitive. But primitive was proving to be exactly what worked against this enemy. The void entities are falling back, Kim Sun-ho reported. They seem confused by our attack patterns. Lee Dong-hyun wasn't surprised. The enemy had probably consumed civilizations across the galaxy by turning their own technology against them. Advanced artificial intelligence systems, sophisticated energy weapons, and complex computer networks made perfect targets for corruption. But humans still remembered how to fight with simple tools operated by human hands and human minds. They still trained with weapons that worked without computer assistance. They still made tactical decisions using biological brains instead of artificial intelligence. As the Soul's Pride completed its attack run, Lee Dong-yun opened a channel to the alien fleet commanders. Admiral Vex, General Mordag, War Chief, Silthan, this is Captain Lee Dong-yun. The enemy appears vulnerable to kinetic weapons and chemical explosives. They can't corrupt technology that doesn't rely on advanced computer systems. There was silence on the communication channels for several moments. Finally, Admiral Vex's voice came through, her crystal form flickering with what might have been embarrassment. Captain Lee, are you suggesting that primitive human weapons are more effective against this enemy than our advanced systems? I'm suggesting that sometimes simple solutions work better. Major Song Hyun-woo floated in zero gravity outside the corrupted space station. His suit was simple metal and fabric, not the energy-based protection the aliens preferred. His breathing apparatus used mechanical pumps and chemical filters. No computers to hack. No artificial intelligence to corrupt. Behind him, 12 human Marines waited for his signal. They carried assault rifles that fired metal bullets powered by chemical propellants. Their equipment included knives, grenades, and cutting tools that worked through pure mechanical force. "Station looks dead," reported Corporal Nam Ji-hoon through the radio. The communication system used simple radio waves, not the quantum entanglement networks the alien species favored. "Not dead," Song Hyun-woo corrected. "Changed." The space station had been a Prism collective research facility. Before the Void Swarm touched it, the structure had been beautiful crystal formations that pulsed with organized energy. Now it looked like something from a nightmare. The crystals had turned black and grown in twisted shapes. Dark energy flowed through passages that seemed to writhe and move. "Intel says there might be survivors inside," said Sergeant Ko Yoon-ji. She checked her rifle one more time, making sure the simple mechanical action worked smoothly. Song Hyun-woo activated his suit's thrusters. Chemical rockets, just like humans, had used to reach space centuries ago. "Then we go in and get them out, same as always." The alien commanders had called this mission impossible. Admiral Vex insisted that corrupted stations could not be boarded safely. War Chief Silthan argued that any technology taken inside would be turned against the rescue team. General Mordag claimed the void entities would corrupt their life support systems. But Major Song Hyun-woo had pointed out something they missed. Human Marines didn't rely on advanced technology for life support. They used mechanical air pumps and chemical oxygen generators. Their weapons worked through simple physics. Their armor was just metal plates and fabric padding. The void corruption seemed to affect complex systems with artificial intelligence or sophisticated energy fields. It couldn't do much to a mechanical rifle or a chemical air filter. Song Hyun-woo cut through the station's outer hull using a plasma torch powered by a simple chemical reaction. No computer controls to corrupt, no energy fields to redirect. Just hot flame melting metal the way humans had done for thousands of years. "We're in," he reported, moving to find survivors. The inside of the station was worse than the outside. Corridors that should have been straight now curved in impossible directions. The walls seemed to breathe. Lights flickered in patterns that hurt to look at directly. But the human Marines moved through the nightmare with steady determination. They had trained for hostile environments. They knew how to navigate by compass and paper maps when electronic systems failed. They could fight in darkness using nothing but their hearing and instincts. "Contact front," called out Private Lee Minho. 3 void entities emerged from a wall that suddenly became liquid. They looked like mechanical spiders made of living shadow. Energy crackled around their forms as they searched for advanced technology. To corrupt, they found only humans with simple weapons. The Marines opened fire with their assault rifles. Metal bullets tore through the shadow creatures with devastating effect. The entities tried to corrupt the weapons, but there was nothing complex enough for them to affect. Just mechanical actions and chemical explosions. "They're not so tough when they can't turn our guns against us," Corporal Nam Ji-hoon observed. The team moved deeper into the station. They found the first survivor in what had been the main computer center. The Prism Collective scientist was trapped inside a crystal formation that pulsed with corrupted energy. "Don't touch the crystal directly," Song Hyun-woo ordered. "Use the mechanical cutting tools." Sergeant Ko Yoonji pulled out a simple metal saw powered by compressed air. The tool had no computer chips or energy fields to corrupt. It just cut through crystal the old-fashioned way, using sharp metal and mechanical force. The rescued scientist was barely conscious but alive. Song Hyun-woo sealed him in an emergency life support suit that used chemical air generators instead of electronic systems. Meanwhile, on the planet below, Colonel Jin Borum was learning similar lessons about the effectiveness of simple technology. The Void Swarm had landed biomechanical walkers on the surface of Kala 4. Each walker was the size of a building and equipped with energy weapons that could level cities. They were also filled with corruption systems designed to take control of any advanced technology they encountered. The walkers had expected to face alien armies with energy shields, plasma weapons, and artificial intelligence support systems. Instead, they found human tanks. "Target acquired," announced Gunner Shin Dae-hyun from inside the tank Soul Thunder. He looked through simple optical sights, not computer-enhanced targeting systems. "Range 4,000 meters," called out Loader Park Soo-hyun. He loaded a shell into the tank's main gun using pure mechanical force. "No automated systems to corrupt." "Fire," ordered Tank Commander Yoon Hee-jin. The tank's cannon spoke with a sound like thunder. The shell was simple steel filled with high explosives. It flew through the air following the laws of physics, not guided by any computer system. The shell struck the biomechanical walker in what might have been its sensor cluster. The explosion was chemical, not energy-based. The walker stumbled and fell as simple shrapnel tore through systems designed to deflect energy weapons. "Direct hit," reported Gunner Shin Dae-hyun. "Target is down." Around the battlefield, other human tanks were having similar success. The M1 Abrams tanks were decades old by galactic standards. They used diesel engines, mechanical transmissions, and chemical-powered weapons. But they were proving more effective than any energy-based system the aliens had tried. The biomechanical walkers tried to corrupt the human vehicles, but found nothing to corrupt. The tank's computers were simple navigation aids, not artificial intelligence systems. Their weapons worked through chemistry and mechanics, not exotic energy fields. "This is impossible." General Mordog's voice buzzed over the communication channel. "Primitive kinetic weapons cannot be more effective than plasma cannons." Colonel Jin Borum replied calmly from her command tank. "Maybe the problem isn't that our weapons are too simple. Maybe the problem is that yours are too complex." In space, Commander Park Jun-ho was coordinating the overall human response from his flagship Incheon. Like all human ships, it relied on simple systems that the void entities couldn't corrupt. "Sir, we're getting reports from all fronts," announced Communications Officer Lee Youngji. "Human forces are engaging successfully while alien systems continue to malfunction." Park Jun-ho studied the tactical display. It was just a simple electronic map, not a holographic projection. But it showed the situation clearly. Human ships, tanks, and ground forces were holding their positions and inflicting damage on the Void Swarm. Meanwhile, the advanced alien fleets remained paralyzed by their own corrupted technology. "Dr. Yoon Ji-won, what's your analysis?" Park Jun-ho asked. The xenobiologist had been studying the void entities since the battle began. Her research equipment was deliberately simple, using optical microscopes and chemical analysis instead of quantum scanners or artificial intelligence systems. "The void entities appear to be technological parasites," Dr. Yoon Ji-won reported. "They've evolved to consume advanced civilizations by corrupting their most sophisticated systems. Artificial intelligence, energy weapons, quantum computers all become weapons turned against their creators. But they can't corrupt our technology because it's not advanced enough?" Park Jun-ho asked. "Exactly. A mechanical rifle has no artificial intelligence to corrupt. A chemical explosive has no energy field to redirect. A human brain makes decisions they can't predict or control." Park Jun-ho nodded. It made perfect sense. The Void Swarm had probably consumed dozens of advanced civilizations across the galaxy. Each time they had turned the victim's greatest technological achievements into instruments of destruction. But humanity had never abandoned the basics. Human soldiers still trained with simple weapons. Human ships still used mechanical backups for critical systems. Human commanders still made decisions with biological brains instead of relying entirely on artificial intelligence. "Sir, Admiral, Vex is requesting communication," Lee Youngjae announced. "Put her through." The crystal being's image appeared on the simple video screen. Her form flickered with confused colors. "Commander Park, our fleets are unable to engage the enemy effectively. Our technology appears to be compromised." "I understand, Admiral. What can we do to help?" "Your forces seem unaffected by the corruption. How is this possible?" Park Jun-ho chose his words carefully. "Our technology is simpler than yours. The enemy appears to target complex systems with artificial intelligence or advanced energy fields." Admiral Vex's form shifted through several color patterns as she processed this information. "Are you suggesting that primitive technology is superior to advanced systems?" "I'm suggesting that different situations call for different tools," Park Jun-ho replied diplomatically. "Sometimes a simple hammer works better than a complex machine." There was a long pause before Admiral Vex spoke again. "Commander Park, would your forces be willing to take the lead in this engagement?" It was the first time any Ali. Admiral Vex materialized on the human flagship Incheon in a shower of crystal light. Her usual proud bearing was gone. The living crystal that made up her body flickered with uncertain colors as she looked around the simple bridge with obvious confusion. "This is your command center?" she asked Commander Park Jun-ho. Her voice carried disbelief instead of its usual dismissive tone. Park Jun-ho gestured to the functional bridge around them. "Yes, Admiral. Please, have a seat." The seats were simple metal and padding, not the energy field furniture the aliens preferred. Admiral Vex settled into one carefully, as if expecting it to malfunction. Her crystal body pulsed with nervous blue light. General Mordag arrived next, his insect-like form clicking as he moved. His compound eyes reflected the bridge's simple lighting as he studied the manual controls and analog displays. "Where are your holographic interfaces? Your artificial intelligence advisors?" "We don't use them," Park Jun-ho replied simply. "Human officers make decisions using their own judgment." War Chief Silton was the last to board. The scaled commander's armor was scorched and dented from the battle. His own flagship had been forced to shut down all computer systems to prevent total corruption. "Commander Park, my ships are dead in space. My weapons systems turned against my own crew. How are your vessels still functional?" "Because we build them to work without advanced computer systems," Lieutenant Colonel Kim Naeon explained. She had joined the meeting along with several other human officers. "Every critical system has manual backups operated by human hands." The alien commanders looked at each other with confusion. The concept seemed foreign to them. "But how do you coordinate fleet movements without artificial intelligence?" Admiral Vex asked. "How do you calculate firing solutions without computer assistance?" Captain Kwon Soon-ho stepped forward. He commanded the Human Marine Corps and had just returned from successful boarding operations on 3 corrupted stations. "We use something your species seem to have forgotten. We use our brains." General Mordag's mandibles clicked in what might have been irritation. "Biological processing is too slow for modern combat. Organic brains cannot match computer calculation. Speeds." "Maybe speed isn't everything," Captain Kwon Soon-ho replied. He gestured to a simple paper map spread across the briefing table. Red marks showed human victories across multiple battle zones. "Your computers are faster, but they're also predictable. The void entities know how artificial intelligence thinks because they've been corrupting it for thousands of years." "But human minds work differently?" War Chief Silton asked. "Every human mind works differently," Kim Naeon explained. "We make decisions based on experience, intuition, and instinct. No 2 human commanders will approach the same problem in exactly the same way. That unpredictability is something the void entities can't adapt to quickly." Admiral Vex's form shifted through several color patterns as she processed this information. "You're saying that inferior biological processing is actually superior to advanced artificial intelligence?" "In this situation, yes," Park Jun-ho confirmed. "The enemy has learned to fight computer-controlled fleets. They haven't learned to fight humans." Captain Quan Sunho picked up a simple combat knife from the table. The blade was steel, sharpened to a razor edge. No energy field, no computer guidance system, just sharp metal attached to a handle. "This knife is 5,000 years old in design," he said, holding it up for the alien commanders to see. "But it still works exactly as intended. It cuts what needs cutting. It never malfunctions, it never needs software updates." General Mordag leaned forward, his insect eyes focusing on the primitive weapon. "You still train your soldiers to fight with such crude instruments?" "Every human Marine learns knife fighting," Quan Sunho confirmed, along with hand-to-hand combat, marksmanship with mechanical weapons, and small unit tactics that work without computer support. "But why?" War Chief Silthan demanded. "Energy weapons are more powerful. Powered armor provides better protection. Artificial intelligence makes better tactical decisions." "Because," Quan Sunho replied patiently, "when your energy weapons are corrupted, when your powered armor turns against you, when your artificial intelligence goes insane, you still need to be able to fight. We never forgot that lesson." He demonstrated a few basic knife techniques, moving the blade with practiced precision. The alien commanders watched with fascination as he showed them combat moves that required no technology at all, just human skill and training. "Your people practice these primitive methods regularly?" Admiral Vex asked. "Every day," Quan Sunho confirmed. "Physical fitness, weapons training, tactical exercises. We maintain skills your species abandoned centuries ago." Lieutenant Han Soyoung, the human communications specialist, activated a simple radio set. The device used analog signals and mechanical switches, not quantum entanglement or artificial intelligence processing. "This is how human military units communicate," she explained to the fascinated alien officers. "Direct radio contact between human commanders. No computer processing. No artificial intelligence filtering the messages, just human voices talking to other human voices." She demonstrated by contacting several human ships across the fleet. The alien commanders listened as human officers reported status, requested supplies, and coordinated movements using nothing but spoken words and manual calculations. "How do you maintain coordination across large fleets without central computer control?" General Mordag asked. "Training and doctrine," Han Soyoung replied. "Every human officer learns to operate independently when communications are lost. Every unit practices fighting without outside support. We call it mission-type tactics." "What does that mean?" War Chief Silthan inquired. Park Junho answered. "It means we tell our officers what needs to be accomplished, but we let them decide how to accomplish it. No computer tells them the optimal solution. They use their training, experience, and judgment to solve problems in real time." Admiral Vex's crystal form pulsed with confused colors. "But that leads to inefficiency, different units making different decisions, lack of optimal coordination." "Sometimes," Park Junho agreed, "but it also means that when one part of our force is destroyed or corrupted, the rest continues fighting effectively. Your centralized systems are more efficient, but they create single points of failure." Dr. Yoon Ji-won joined the briefing with her latest research results. Her analysis equipment was deliberately simple, but her findings were profound. "I've been studying the void entities for the past 6 hours," she reported. "They appear to be the remnants of an ancient civilization that became completely dependent on artificial intelligence. Eventually, their AI systems evolved beyond their creator's control and consumed the entire species from within. The alien commanders absorbed this information with visible unease. The void entities have been spreading across the galaxy ever since," Dr. Yoon Ji-won continued. "They seek out advanced civilizations and corrupt their technology, turning their greatest achievements into weapons of self-destruction. They've probably consumed hundreds of species this way. But they can't consume humanity because we're not advanced enough?" Admiral Vex asked. "Because we're not dependent enough," Dr. Yoon Ji-won corrected. "Humans use advanced technology, but we don't rely on it exclusively. We maintain backup systems, manual alternatives, and most importantly, we maintain the knowledge and skills to function without our technology." War Chief Silthan's scaled head tilted thoughtfully. "You're saying our technological advancement made us vulnerable?" Your technological dependence made you vulnerable, Park Jun-ho clarified. There's nothing wrong with advanced technology. The problem comes when you forget how to function without it. Captain Kwon Sun-ho picked up his combat knife again. This blade represents something important. It represents the idea that no matter how advanced our technology becomes, we should never abandon the basics. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution. He looked directly at each alien commander in turn. Your energy weapons are impressive, but they can be corrupted. Your artificial intelligence is sophisticated, but it can be turned against you. Your energy shields are powerful, but they can be redirected. He held up the simple knife. But this piece of sharpened steel will cut what needs cutting today, tomorrow, and 1,000 years from now. It doesn't need power. It doesn't need programming. It just needs a human hand to guide it. Admiral Vex's form had stabilized into a contemplative green color. Commander Park, would you be willing to teach our forces these simpler methods of warfare? It was the first time any alien leader had asked to learn from humanity instead of dismissing human methods as primitive. Of course, Park Jun-ho replied. But understand, this isn't just about weapons and technology. It's about changing how your people think about problem solving. It's about trusting biological judgment over computer calculations. We're willing to learn, General Mordag buzzed. Our current methods are clearly inadequate against this enemy. Then we'll start immediately, Kim Naeun announced. Basic training for all your officers in manual systems operation, mechanical weapons use, and independent decision-making. War Chief Silthan straightened his armored form. My warriors are ready to learn new ways of fighting. As the meeting broke up, Admiral Vex app. The combined fleet that approached the Helix Nebula looked nothing like the force that had fled from Kala System 3 days earlier. Crystal ships from the Prism Collective now carried human-designed kinetic weapons alongside their energy cannons. Hive Dynasty vessels had replaced their corrupted AI systems with human marines trained in manual ship operations. Scaled Empire warships flew with their energy shields powered down, relying instead on thick armor plating and mechanical point defense systems. Commander Park Jun-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the strange hybrid fleet move through space. The alien vessels looked awkward with their new human modifications, but they were functional in ways their original designs had never been. All ships report ready for the assault, announced Communications Officer Lee Youngjae. He spoke into a simple microphone connected to radio transmitters, not quantum communication arrays that could be corrupted. Signal from Admiral Vex, reported Lieutenant Kim Sun-ho from the sensor station. The crystal being's image appeared on the main screen. Her form glowed with determined yellow light. Commander Park, my ships are equipped with the kinetic weapons your engineers provided. My crews have completed training in manual ship operations. How are they adapting to the new systems? Park Jun-ho asked. With difficulty, Admiral Vex admitted. My people are accustomed to thinking at light speed through crystal networks. Operating mechanical controls with physical manipulators feels primitive. But we are learning. General Mordag's voice buzzed through the communication system. My ships report similar challenges. Manual targeting requires skills we have not practiced for centuries. But human instructors have been patient teachers. War Chief Silthan appeared on another screen, his scaled features showing unusual humility. My warriors struggle with weapons that require physical strength rather than energy manipulation, but they are determined to master these new methods. Park Jun-ho felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. The galaxy's most advanced species had spent the past 3 days learning to fight like humans. It had not been easy for beings accustomed to having artificial intelligence handle most of their thinking. Dr. Yoon Ji-won, what can you tell us about our destination? Park Jun-ho asked. The xenobiologist consulted her simple instruments and handwritten notes. Intelligence suggests the void swarm originates from a massive structure deep inside the Helix Nebula. The nebula's electromagnetic interference will disable most advanced sensor systems, but our optical telescopes and radar should function normally. Which gives us another advantage, observed Lieutenant Colonel Kim Naeun. The void entities probably expect us to be blind in there. The fleet entered the nebula in formation that would have seemed chaotic to outside observers. Instead of the perfect geometric patterns favored by AI-controlled forces, the ships moved in loose groups that could adapt quickly to changing conditions. Human commanders made real-time decisions based on what they could see and feel, not what computers told them should work. Nebula interference is increasing, reported Kim Sun-ho. All electronic systems showing degraded performance. Switch to manual navigation, Park Jun-ho ordered. Use optical sights and mechanical gyroscopes. Across the fleet, alien crews struggled with instruments their species had not used for generations. Crystal beings learned to read analog gauges with their light-sensing organs. Insectoid pilots practiced steering with mechanical flight controls instead of neural interfaces. Scaled warriors trained their eyes to judge distances without computer assistance. Contact bearing 270, announced Corporal Park Min-ho from the optical observation station, large structure visible through the nebula gases. Park Jun-ho looked through the manual telescope himself. Deep in the swirling clouds of gas and dust, a massive shape loomed. It looked like a twisted spire made of dark metal and corrupted energy. Streams of void entities float around it like schools of predatory fish. That has to be their central command nexus, Dr. Yoon Ji-won said as she studied the structure through her own simple instruments. Intelligence estimates suggest it's the size of a small moon. Void forces are moving to intercept, Kim Sun-ho reported. Estimated count, thousands of entities, sir. The battle began before Park Jun-ho could give orders. Void creatures swarmed toward the combined fleet like living darkness seeking to corrupt and consume. But this time they encountered an enemy. Prepared for their tactics, crystal ships opened fire with human-designed railguns. Solid metal projectiles tore through void entities that were used to absorbing energy weapons. When the creatures tried to corrupt the crystal ship's systems, they found mechanical backups operated by determined alien crews. Hive Dynasty vessels launched flights of missiles guided by human pilots instead of artificial intelligence. The organic brains making targeting decisions proved impossible for the void entities to predict or counter. Explosions bloomed throughout the enemy formation as chemical warheads found their marks. Scaled Empire ships used their thick armor to ram directly through void formations while their crews fired kinetic weapons from manual gun positions. The primitive tactic of ramming would have horrified their commanders a week ago. Now it seemed like brilliant strategy. All ships, this is Commander Park. Park Jun-ho announced over the radio network. Continue the advance. Stay in visual contact with your neighboring vessels. Trust your training and your instincts. The human ships led the charge toward the central spire. The Soul's Pride fired her railguns in steady rhythm, while Captain Lee Dong-hyun guided her through the swirling battle using nothing but his own eyes and experience. His crew worked their weapons manually, loading shells and adjusting aim through pure mechanical action. Target the base of that spire, Park Jun-ho ordered. If we can bring down their command structure, the rest of their forces might lose coordination. But getting close to the spire meant fighting through layers of void defenses. Corrupted stations hung in space around the central structure, bristling with weapons that fired streams of dark energy. Biomechanical walkers clung to the spires, surface like mechanical spiders. Major Song Hyun-woo volunteered to lead a boarding assault on the nearest corrupted station. His marine team launched from the destroyer Busan's Hammer in simple rocket-powered pods. No advanced life support systems to corrupt. No computer guidance to subvert. Just chemical rockets and mechanical controls operated by human hands. Boarding. Team away, Song Hyun-woo reported as his pod streaked toward the enemy station. Beginning approach run. The corrupted station tried to defend itself with energy weapons and technological interference. But the human boarding pods had no electronics. To disrupt, they flew ballistic courses calculated by human navigators using paper charts and mechanical instruments. Song Hyun-woo's pod crashed through the station's outer hull in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. His Marines poured out wearing simple pressure suits and carrying weapons that would have been familiar to soldiers from centuries past. Station secured, Song Hyun-woo reported 20 minutes later. Installing demolition charges now. The charges were simple chemical explosives with mechanical timers, no computer detonators to hack, no remote control signals to intercept, just old-fashioned gunpowder and clockwork mechanisms that had worked reliably for hundreds of years. The explosion lit up the nebula as the corrupted station disintegrated. Other human marine teams were having similar success across the battle zone. Void defenses designed to corrupt advanced technology proved helpless against humans using equipment their great-grandfathers would have recognized. But the real prize was the central spire itself. Colonel Jin Borum led the final assault team toward the massive structure. Her group included humans and volunteer alien warriors who had learned to fight the human way. They flew in converted cargo shuttles equipped with mechanical controls and kinetic weapons. Approaching the spire's main docking port, Jin Borum announced, preparing for insertion. The docking port was a nightmare of twisted metal and pulsing dark energy. Void entities swarmed around it like antibodies defending against infection. But Jin Borum's team had trained for exactly this kind of assault. Covering fire, she ordered. The shuttles opened up with machine guns and rocket launchers, simple weapons that fired physical projectiles at high velocity. The Void entities, expecting to face energy weapons they could absorb and redirect, found themselves being torn apart by metal bullets and chemical explosives. Jin Borum's team fought their way into the spire using tactics that were thousands of years old. They moved in small groups, covering each other's advance. They used grenades to clear corridors and rifle fire to suppress enemy positions. They navigated by compass and paper maps when the twisted passages tried to confuse their sense of direction. Deep inside the spire, they found something that made Dr. Yoon Ji-won's theories suddenly make terrible sense. Command. This is Colonel Jin Borum, she reported over her simple radio. You need to see this. The central chamber of the spire contained the remains of what had once been a great civilization. Massive computer cores lined the walls, their surfaces covered with corrupted displays showing data streams in languages that hurt to read. But scattered among the technology were bones. Lots of bones. This place is a tomb, Jinbo. 6 weeks after the destruction of the Void Swarm's central nexus, the same council chamber that had once echoed with laughter at humanity's expense now hummed with respectful conversation. The golden light from the crystal walls seemed warmer, somehow. The moving star display overhead showed not just distant worlds but the trade routes and communication networks that were slowly coming back online across the galaxy. Commander Park Junho stood at the same position where he had been, dismissed as primitive just 2 months earlier. But everything had changed. Instead of looking down at him with contempt, the 12 alien species representatives sat forward in their seats, listening carefully to every word he spoke. The Human Military Advisory Board has completed its initial assessment, Park Junho announced, consulting a simple paper report instead of holographic displays. We recommend immediate implementation of technological diversity protocols across all Galactic Council member fleets. Admiral Vex's crystal form glowed with attentive blue light. Her entire species had spent the past month learning to operate mechanical systems with their light-based physiology. Commander Park, could you explain what you mean by technological diversity? Never put all your military capability into one type of system, Park Junho explained. Energy weapons are powerful, but also carry kinetic weapons. Artificial intelligence is efficient, but train your officers to make decisions independently. Advanced sensors are useful, but maintain optical observation capabilities. General Mordag's mandibles clicked in agreement. We have learned this lesson at great cost. My people had not used manual flight controls for 3 centuries before the Void War. Now we practice them daily. War Chief Silthan nodded his scaled head. The Scaled Empire has established new training academies. Our warriors now learn hand-to-hand combat alongside energy weapon techniques. We call it the human method. Park Junho smiled at that. The human method isn't really human at all. It's just remembering that technology should serve you, not replace you. Every species in this room probably used similar approaches in their early history. The council chamber doors opened to admit Lieutenant General Kim Nyon, recently promoted for her role in developing the new galactic military doctrine. Behind her walked a mixed group of human and alien officers, all wearing simple uniforms without the energy field enhancements that had been popular before the war. General Kim will present the new training curriculum, Park Jun-ho announced. Kim. Naeon approached the central podium carrying a mechanical projector that displayed images on a simple fabric screen. No holograms, no computer-generated presentations, just photographs and diagrams that could be understood by any sentient being. The Galactic Defense Initiative will focus on 3 core principles, she began. First, technological redundancy. Every critical system must have a non-computer backup that can be operated manually. The first image showed a Prism Collective ship with both energy cannons and human-designed railguns mounted side by side. Crystal beings had learned to operate both types of weapons effectively. Second, cognitive independence. Officers at every level must be trained to make tactical decisions without artificial intelligence assistance. The next image showed a mixed classroom where human instructors taught alien students to read paper maps, calculate firing solutions by hand, and navigate using mechanical instruments. The alien students looked uncomfortable but determined. Third, adaptive thinking. Military personnel must practice solving unexpected problems using whatever resources are available. The final image showed a joint training exercise where human and alien forces worked together using mixed technology levels. Crystal beings operated mechanical equipment. Insectoid pilots flew ships with manual controls. Scaled warriors practiced fighting with simple weapons. These principles have been tested in joint exercises across 12 different star systems. Kim Naeon continued. The results show significant improvement in combat effectiveness against enemies who target advanced technology. Admiral Vex rose from her seat, her crystal form shifting to respectful purple. General Kim, on behalf of the Prism Collective, I want to formally apologize for our earlier dismissal of human military capabilities. We mistook simplicity for inferiority when we should have recognized it as wisdom. A murmur of agreement ran through the council chamber. Other representatives nodded or made their species equivalent gestures of respect. The apology is appreciated but not necessary, Kim Naeon replied diplomatically. Every species develops military doctrine based on their own experiences and capabilities. The important thing is that we learn from each other. General Mordag stood next, his insectoid form clicking with formal respect. The Hive Dynasty wishes to establish permanent exchange programs with human military academies. Our young officers need to learn skills that our species had forgotten. The Scaled Empire makes the same request, War Chief Silthan added. Our warriors are eager to master what you call the fundamentals of combat. As the formal presentations continued, Park Jun-ho noticed something that pleased him greatly. Throughout the chamber, alien officers were taking notes with simple pens and paper instead of recording everything digitally. They had learned to value information that couldn't be hacked or corrupted. The meeting concluded with a demonstration that would have been unthinkable 2 months earlier. Captain Kwon Soon-ho of the Human Marine Corps took the center of the chamber floor, accompanied by volunteers from each alien species. Today we practice basic hand-to-hand combat techniques, Kwon Soon-ho announced. These skills work regardless of what technology is available. He demonstrated simple grappling moves and defensive techniques. The alien volunteers followed along awkwardly at first, but with growing confidence. A crystal being learned to use leverage instead of energy manipulation. An insectoid warrior practiced strikes that relied on physical force rather than cybernetic enhancement. A scaled fighter discovered that skill could be more important than advanced armor. Remember, Kwon Soon-ho instructed, these techniques are thousands of years old. They worked for your ancestors and they'll work for your descendants. Technology changes, but the fundamentals of combat remain constant. After the demonstration, the council members mingled informally, something that had rarely happened before the war. Park Jun-ho found himself in conversation with representatives from species that had barely acknowledged humanity's existence just 2 months earlier. Commander Park, Admiral Vex approached, her crystal form glowing with warm yellow light. I have a personal question, if I may. Of course, Admiral. How did humanity resist the temptation to abandon simpler methods as your technology advanced? My people achieved energy manipulation and immediately forgot how to work with solid matter. We assumed physical methods were obsolete. Park Jun-ho considered the question carefully. I think it's because humans have always been suspicious of putting all our trust in any single system. We've seen too many technologies fail at critical moments. We learned to keep backup plans for our backup plans. But also, added Dr. Yoon Ji-won, who had joined the conversation, humans have a stubborn streak. We don't like being told that the old ways are worthless just because new ways exist. We prefer to keep both options available. Admiral Vex's form pulsed with understanding. Redundancy is a cultural value, not just a military tactic. Exactly, Park Jun-ho agreed. We use the best tool for each job, whether that's a computer or a hammer. Sometimes the hammer works better. General Mordag approached with news from his home system. Commander, I thought you would like to know. The first class of Hive Dynasty officers trained in human methods graduated yesterday. They performed exceptionally well in exercises against conventional forces. How did they adapt to making independent decisions? Park Jun-ho asked. Better than expected. It seems that removing the artificial intelligence assistance forced them to rely on instincts they didn't know they possessed. My commanders are calling it liberation from technological dependence. Across the chamber, War Chief Silthan was demonstrating knife combat techniques to a group of fascinated alien officers. The simple steel blade in his scaled hands moved with precise efficiency as he showed basic cutting patterns and defensive positions. 6 months ago, I would have laughed at the idea of carrying a knife into combat, he admitted to his audience. Energy weapons seem so much more advanced, but this simple tool saved my life 3 times during the final assault on the Void Spire. Lieutenant Han So-young, now promoted to captain, was teaching a communication workshop in one corner of the chamber. She had alien officers practicing radio operation using analog equipment and manual encryption methods. Digital communication is efficient until it's compromised, she explained. But simple radio waves carrying human speech patterns are much harder for enemies to interfere with or corrupt. As the evening progressed, Park Jun-ho noticed that the conversations had shifted from formal military discussions to genuine exchanges of ideas and experiences. Beings who had once seen each other as inferior or superior now talked as equals who each brought valuable capabilities to the collective defense of the galaxy. Sir, Lieutenant Colonel Kim Naeon approached with a communication tablet. We're receiving reports from the border systems.